So Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. Praise the Most High, Yahweh, by Hashem HaMashiach Yahushua. All praises to him. Thank you for letting us teach again on this day. All right. I'm going to let a sister read this. Bring it in.
And whatsoever you do, in word or deed, do all in the name of Yahushua, giving thanks to Yah the Father by him.
Khan, hallelujah. All praises to the Most High. Everything we do is in word and deed through the Father Yahweh by Hashem HaMashiach Yahushua. Thank you, sister. All right, so getting into the class, we're going to start off with a few scriptures, of course. We're going to go into the Old Testament first. But first and foremost, this topic is called the 12-tribe conundrum. Conundrum is a juggernaut word for a confusing and difficult problem or a question. This has been a juggernaut for all the experts out there. No one can figure this out. The 12-tribe conundrum. But his elect have found it. One of the most difficult conundrums for the expert is finding the 12 tribes. Who are they? Where are they? What are they? These are the questions that people have today. And they ignore people's expertise in study. They ignore the comparisons. And they still choose to ignore the 12 tribes of Israel altogether. The 12 tribes of Israel are a big part of the scriptures and very important. So there's many questions about the sons of Jacob. The first dialogue about the 12 tribes in the scriptures comes about in Genesis chapter 35. And let's turn to Genesis 35. Genesis chapter 35, and we're going to start at verse 10. Genesis 35, verse 10. And it reads, And the Most High said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. And the Most High said unto him, I am the Most High Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of you. The kings shall come out of thy loins. Let's read verse 12. And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. So we can't discuss anything about the 12 tribes if we can't mention anything about this portion of the scriptures. And also, we can't mention anything about the 12 tribes if we don't mention anything about the land. The land and the 12 tribes of Israel, those two, they go hand in hand. Can't have one without the other. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. And as you notice that in the book of Genesis 29, that's when the tribes are being born, but they weren't called Israel then. You have to skip over to 35 for Jacob's name to be changed. So they were born not Israelites. They were born as their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They became Israel after Jacob became Israel. So their name changed. And that's synonymous with today, us being in a strange land, and our names changing to Israel. Synonymous with that. We're waking up. So Deuteronomy chapter 30. Genesis chapter 30, verse 4. And let's read to verse 6. If any of thine be driven out unto the outermost parts of heaven, from thence will the Most High thy power gather you, and from thence will he fetch you. And the Most High thy power will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed. And thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And the Most High thy power will circumcise thine heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love the Most High thy power with all thine heart, but with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. All right, so the land and the Israelites go hand in hand. The Most High said he's going to drag us back to the land. If we're Israelites, okay, if we're the natural-born, fleshly, spiritual Israelites, we're going to be dragged back to the land. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 62. Let's read more on the land. Isaiah 62, and let's start at verse 1. Let's start at the very first verse. Isaiah 62, verse 1. And it reads, For Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest, until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Most High shall name. See that? We're going to be called what? Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel again. Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Most High, and a royal diadem in the hand of thy power, like a diamond. Thou shalt no more be termed forsaken. The land and the people are forsaken. Neither shall thy land any more be termed desolate, but thou shalt be called Heshphabah, and thy land Beulah. And it tells you in the inscription next to it what it means. Hephzibah means delight, and Beulah means married. So we're going to be married to the land. Once again, for the Most High delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married. Here it is. For as a young man marrieth a virgin, so shall thy sons marry you. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall thy power rejoice over you. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. If you read in the book of Nehemiah, when Nehemiah left Babylon and went back down to Jerusalem, he was setting the whole place in order because the Levites had scattered, and you had noblemen living in the temple when they shouldn't have been in there. And on the Sabbath day, what we did on the Sabbath, and there's a portion of this in the book of Ezekiel, talks about what we did. We shut all the gates only on the Sabbath day to face the east, which was when we had our prayer. All the people faced that gate for our prayer, and on the new moon as well. So when you look at Nehemiah chapter 13, Israel was out of whack, and they was doing all the things that Babylon did. They had married strange wives. They had heathen coming in there. The Levites were pushed out of the temple and scattered to their own little, they had land, and they were living with their Moabitess wives, and so what we have is a conundrum, because confusion came into the land, and no one could figure it out until Nehemiah went down there to set everything straight. Okay, he had to tell the foreigners or the immigrants coming there to sell stuff to us, we don't do this on the Sabbath day. So there's an order that has to be set in place. And the Gentiles at this point in our time think that they could be drafted in. They'll never be drafted in. All right, it's all about the 12 tribes being drafted in, no one else. Now they can hold on to our shirt tail to get in if they do what we tell them to do by keeping the works. But we're going to read on about it. But it's all about Israel. It's all about the 12 tribes of Israel. And it's definitely all about the Most High Yahweh by Shem HaMashiach Yahushai first. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. Now Nehemiah set noblemen upon every gate in the land when the Sabbath day came in, so no one could go in and out. Ye that make mention of the Most High, keep not silence, and give him no rest till he establish, until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. So he says, give these people no rest about who we are. We are the 12 tribes of Israel. Give them no rest. When we read, let's see, Numbers 34. And what this is just going to talk about is the land. If you guys didn't know, this is where we took ownership of the land based on the Most High's words to us. It's here and it's in the book of Ezekiel. So we're going to go to Numbers chapter 34, verse 1 through, and we're going to read 1 through 6. Numbers chapter 34, 1 through 6. And it reads, And the Most High spoke unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel. See, now Israel's intact. Command the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come in the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall unto you for an inheritance, even the land of Canaan, with the coasts thereof. This is how you know that when we went into Africa, Canaan had all the coast. They had the Mediterranean Sea, they had the Atlantic Ocean. Canaan had all of that land. But we wanted the best land of Canaan, which was right around the Mediterranean Sea. Right around that corner there, the border, is where we wanted it. So we got that. But it says here, this is the land that shall fall unto you for an inheritance, even the land of Canaan, with the coast thereof. So that's why we ended up in West Africa. A lot of us started to go into the northern, western hemisphere of Africa and started to work our way down south as well along the coast. Verse 3, Then your south quarter shall be from the wilderness of Zin along by the coast of Edom. So where Edom is, we occupied that territory. Below there's a little sea there, right where the Dead Sea is. Right below it is Edom. And your south border shall be the outmost coast of the Salt Sea eastward. And your border shall turn from the south to the accent of Akrabim and pass on to Zin. And it pass on to Zin. And the going forth thereof shall be from the south to Kadesh Barnea, and shall go on to Hazar Ardar, and pass on to Asman. Okay, Asman is south of Judah. So it's at the bottom of Saudi Arabia. It almost looks like a V. At the bottom of that V, if you look at a map, that's where Asman is. It says, And the border shall fetch a compass from Asman unto the river of Egypt. So it borders all the way to the river of Egypt, which is the Red Sea. It goes that far. And the goings out of it shall be at the sea. And for the western border, you shall even have the great sea for a border. This shall be your west border. And that's all of our land that we cover. So we had a lot of land in what they call Mesopotamia, in the outermost parts of Mesopotamia. Okay, we covered all of that. Now, when you see Zin, we read about Zin. Zin is where the wilderness, they call that the wilderness of sin. That's where a lot of sin occurred in that land, the wilderness of sin. Yeah, the land is very important. We're seeing our inheritance in the scriptures. He's telling us. If it wasn't about land, it wouldn't be in there. It wouldn't be in the scriptures. It wouldn't be important. But it's all about restoring us back on our land. What we're going to be restored to if we're not the 12 tribes of Israel, what is the land? What's the purpose of the land being there? It could be anybody's land. But that land is joined unto us. That's why they never talk about us going back there. They want us to go where? They want to send us back to West Africa. Oh, this is your homeland, West Africa. Africa, period. They never want us to really go to Jerusalem. But that's our homeland. Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 19. Ezekiel 48.